right, we're now joined via video link by Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo, Director at WISE Collective, also known as WISE for Africa. Advocate, thank you so much for your time and good afternoon to you. So, of course, what the Public Protector's report essentially is saying that there is all-round failure in as far as the Department of Justice, the South African Police Service is concerned, as well as the Department of Social Development. I mean, just your reaction on hearing, those words by the Public Protector, and of course, importantly, to remind our viewers that this investigation was started after one woman died, after she had turned to the courts for a protective order, but was not granted one. And as a result, she was killed.
No, thank you for having me. Let me also say at the outset that we participated in that investigation as an organization. We are requested to send our submissions so that the Public Protector can conclude their work. So once the interim report was issued, we made our further submissions. So, we were fully aware that this report is in the making and is long overdue, and it has been released. And what it tells all of us is the systemic failures of the entire administration of justice in this country, from the South African Police Service to Department of Justice, and then for victim support, which is non-existent with Department of Social Development. And all these failures, whether structural or systemic, have been there, have been brought to the fore, have been brought into the open, but no one was listening and no one was willing to do their responsibilities as the officials of different government departments. So hopefully with these findings from the Public Protector, there will be action, because when we tell South Africa about the injustice and what that is meted against gender violence victims and survivors, and why is it that we have a low reporting threshold in this country, is because of these things like this, where you go and report a crime committed against you, and it takes you 3 to 5 years for you to get justice, or even not even to get justice at all, precisely because the systems are not working at all, and there are systemic failures throughout the entire criminal justice system. And so yes, I think the report is welcome, and what is of importance is those remedial actions given action to.
And I mean, these concerns that have been brought by the Public Protector's Office are concerns, they're lived experiences by GBV victims. They know these problems. When we look at some of the issues that the Public Protector has highlighted, these are things that we've heard before. For instance, with the Department of Justice, the Public Protector saying out of the 38 courts that they inspected and visited, only one, I think, had their ducks in the row, but the rest had onerous systems in place, did not have any sense of care when treating some of these cases or even prioritizing. And as it relates to the South African Police Service, for instance, some of them have these desks for victims, but some of these desks sometimes are not even manned. There is no person that is there to help some of the victims. And as it relates to the Department of Social Development, there's also no coordination between that department as well as, the South African Police Service. So she's actually pointed to the systems of these departments not working, even though they introduced the very systems.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it's a reality of this country, where you come up with a policy, you come up with regulations, you come up with laws, and the implementers of all of that are clueless. They don't even know where to start. So when you walk in, understanding what the provisions of the laws are, and you demand to be serviced in accordance with the Constitution and the supporting legislation, then you are met with resistance, you are met with ridicule, your matter is minimized, and it's not taken seriously. So, I mean, if we want to do justice to these cases of gender-based violence, and she has mentioned a number of courts, but I mean, closer home, when you look at Randburg Magistrate Court and you go and see what happens in the domestic violence court, you'll be absolutely angry with how clerks of courts, how the magistrates themselves deal with those matters. So there's no uniformity across the country on how to apply the same laws that are in the statute books that all of us, and especially the officials who are supposed to implement that law, they do as they please and they win it as they go along. So there's no uniformity. That's why when you walk into this particular police station and you go and report a domestic violence, you'll be told something different from the other police station. So we have to standardize all those services so that as a South African, wherever I go, I know what is expected of me. When I lay a charge against an individual, I know what are the steps that are going to be taken by the South African Police Service, what is expected of me as a complainant, and what information I'm going to be receiving from the investigation officer. At the moment, it's a free-for-all. They do as they go along, and they win it as they move along.
Advocate, let's talk about next steps. Of course, this report now will have to be handed over, to the Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, John Jeffries, who in fact is the one that had advised the Public Protector to investigate in the first place. What are your expectations in as far as, action is concerned? Because this is not the first time that the Public Protector has investigated, for instance, the Department of Social Development. We know, of course, with the case of the collapse of the Gender-Based Violence Command Center, for instance. Last year, she started an urgent investigation, and I'm not sure we've got findings there, and action was taken there. So what do you say to these, of course, the Public Protector has mentioned, some steps that need to be taken, then hands over the report to the Deputy Minister. What are your expectations?
So remember that we are in limbo at the moment. We don't know who's going to be the Minister of Justice and who's... So the report can be handed over. We're hoping that whoever... So the incumbent will hand over to whoever becomes the Minister of Justice, right? So that then these recommendations can be actioned, right? But practice has told us, because we've got couple of cases that we have against the South African Police Service that are still, and it's an order of court, but they still have not done anything, right? We have had, we've got a case of a woman in Devon who had a protection order who was killed by her partner, despite the protection order expressly stating that the gun must be removed from the perpetrator, and she was killed with that gun. We're busy with that case. We are suing the South African Police Service because of their negligence, right, on their part. So, the disregard continues. So we can have all these recommendations. We can have all these reports coming from the private protector. If there's no will and political will to arrest this situation, we're going to find ourselves all the time having as many investigations as possible and hoping, and we're working on hope in this country at the moment, that people who are given the responsibility and charged with the responsibility of executing the Constitution in its entirety are not doing that. And why is it that action has not been taken against those individuals when, if we are supposed to have built a court, or you're supposed to ensure that the court has got running water, has got a toilet, has got proper ablution system, it's got an integrated system of case management, and on all of that is not there, and you have to wait for a public protector to do an investigation. Surely there's a problem with management and supervision.
All right,
and no one has been held to account.
Absolutely. Advocate, thank you so much for your time. Of course, this is one of those stories that we will be tracking. And as you say, once then the government has, gotten its systems in place following the election, we will then follow and trace where this report actually ends up. Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo there for us from Wise Collective Africa.